Are you ready to lead with impact? Well, friend, you're in the right place. Today, you can join Carol Fairman and Dr. Guy Henry as they begin exploring what it means to lead with impact. So, pull up a chair, grab your coffee, a pen and paper, and get ready to have some deep conversations with Carol and Guy as they walk you through what it means to lead with impact. Welcome back to Lead with Impact. We are so glad to have you here today. We know that November is about gratitude, right? So today we're going to be reflecting on gratitude, humility, what is servant leadership. We want to just talk about how those things and how they impact your leadership skills.
Mhm.
So, Dr. Guy Henry's here today, and together we're just going to dig deep. We're going to unpack gratitude. We're going to talk about the different ways we can cultivate a spirit of gratitude in the workplace and in all those areas, right, that we are called to
Mhm.
lead. And so we want you to be thinking about when was the last time that you thanked somebody on your team. Okay. So as a leader, we're coming from that leadership lens. When was
Mhm.
the last time you thanked a team member? And not just a attaboy, pat on the back,
Right.
but like
Right.
really thank them for their efforts and what they're doing. Can you think of a time, Guy, when you've done that?
I can think of probably more times that I didn't when I should have than maybe that actually did.
I hear
If
you.
I was going to be honest, you know. But
Yeah.
but look, tying gratitude and being thankful into leadership I think isn't important. I think that's what we want to focus on primarily today because we do have a tendency, right, to get, well, it's Thanksgiving. What are we thankful for? Which is something we should be doing all the time. And we always say that. But what about applying that to our leadership and kind of making that kind of a tool in our leadership box, right?
Yeah. Powerful. I mean, and
And
it is this, and I don't want to dismiss what people are doing in this. A lot of people are like,
of
every day I'm
course,
going to share my gratitude, right? But most of the time, are they really deep? Are they
right, right. I
really
want it to
deep?
be I would like us to see if we can talk more of not just the Thanksgiving theme, right?
Right.
But how it practically can build your teams, make them stronger, inspire them, even encourage them to be more loyal, and even
Yes.
um, create a culture of more positivity if we the leader, whoever that is, that influencer, that motivator, even sometimes the leadership within the leadership team can create a culture of positivity just by recognizing people's gifts and what they and what they add to the team.
Exactly. Exactly. And really taking that deep gratitude and moving it and really making it become a cornerstone of your effective leadership, right? It's
Hmm.
not just
Hmm.
Thanksgiving. It's not just saying attaboy. It really is a practice of gratitude that's going to build out those stronger teams that you're talking about. It's going to
Hmm.
inspire that loyalty that we need so that we can get the job done, so that we can move God's mission forward, right? And then it brings it right back to that culture of positivity that you were just speaking about is so
Hmm.
critical. And so what we hope to do in this episode, in this time of discussion, is really we want to equip you with some actionable steps that you can take to
Hmm.
cultivate gratitude and really make this a cornerstone in your toolbox, right? We want to
Hmm.
really take it to a deeper level. How are we going to continue to just display that gratitude and pour deeply into the people that God has called you to lead and serve? And so today we're just going to look at a couple of points, one of which being how grateful leaders cultivate a positive work environment, right? So
Hmm.
why
Hmm.
does it matter? Why does it matter, Guy, if we're displaying this gratitude within our leadership? Why? Why does it matter?
Why does it matter? Well, that's a good question. Well, let me back up or preface my answer by saying when we talk about being thankful or gratitude, it has to be sincere, right? It can't be just a task that we do. It has to be us as leaders and influencers actually recognizing what people do so that we can express that gratitude. And I think in it sets a tone. It sets a
Hmm.
tone for respect among the team members, especially
Yes.
those a respect for that leader, maybe a mutual appreciation and that atmosphere of positivity,
Mm,
like you mentioned earlier. I think it gratitude increases satisfaction within
yes.
an employee or team member. And
Absolutely.
could I go so far as to say it could probably even reduce turnover
Oh,
if people know
absolutely.
every once in a while that what they do matters. Even though,
Yes.
yeah, well, that's your job, you're supposed to be doing it, you're getting paid for it. But what about that? Just that little thank you, that
That's right.
recognition. And so it has to come from a certain level of sincerity or intention on the leader's
Right.
part.
Right, because people want to know that they're valued, right? We want to be,
Hmm.
we want to be valued. We want to be heard. We want to be seen, right? That's the culture we live in. And it's so
Hmm.
it is so important to give them the love, right? Give them the love. How hard is it? Well, it can be hard for the,
The
direct
more
leaders
task
like
oriented
ourselves.
leader, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like as the direct leaders, we have to work extra hard at cultivating this.
Hmm.
I will
Hmm.
say I'm getting a little bit better about it because I have a
Congratulations.
calendar. Let me just give you leadership tip number one, a
Okay.
sub bonus so that I can continue to cultivate this. I have a calendar, a sub calendar out in my Google calendars that has all of my staff birthdays, right?
Okay.
Because because otherwise I'm like, oh crap, it's your birthday. A total boss fail and I've missed it, right? Who wants to
Yeah.
be that? It's not that I don't love them, it's not that I don't appreciate them, but goodness, I want to celebrate them on their birthday.
Hmm.
And so I
Hmm.
have a little calendar that reminds me. And then I have a donor retention accelerator system that I use in cultivating some relationships. And I've had to take that product and apply it to gratitude so that I am reaching out and looking for intentional ways to do that. So if you're a D
Hmm.
leader that gets caught up in getting things done and you need to step into being intentional, there don't be afraid to whip out that spreadsheet, friend, or set a reminder on your phone that,
Yeah.
Susie, my patient services manager, she needs to be recognized because it's been an especially hard week, right?
Hmm.
And so us D directees, we need to schedule it, right? But because it doesn't come as natural as those inspiring leaders that are just like rah, rah,
Yeah.
rah, ready to love
Right.
on them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so don't be
Yeah.
afraid to do things like that because it really will. When you start acknowledging the gratitude of thank you for
Hmm.
working with us for another year. Thank you for, you know, showing up on time. Just whatever you need to do to acknowledge them, it's going to bring that turnover rate way down because they're
Hmm.
feeling valued, they're being loved. And so I just think it's important. um
Yeah.
so what is, so I did share a little bit of how that looks like in practice for me, but there are so many different ways that we can practice that. So I'd love to
Oh,
hear a
yeah.
few thoughts from you on how
Well,
not everybody needs a
even
spreadsheet.
right, and maybe not everyone would want to use one, right? That seems so cold and indifferent, but
Thanks,
it is a reminder. It is
but
a
they will tell you I
reminder,
love them well.
yes, but even gratitude can and maybe should go even beyond thank you, because we are
Yes,
talking about intentionality. So
yes,
recognizing their contributions or maybe their strengths, just a recognition, hey, you're really great in this area. I appreciate that. Or for their character. We know that, that could have went anyway, but you anyway, a different way, but you stood up for the organization, the company, the business, the ministry, whatever the case may be. And another thing is there's always people doing things that nobody sees get done. Those
Yes.
behind the scenes things that get done. Who's doing those? As a leader, at any capacity, if you can bring out into the public, you know, things that are
Mhm.
going on behind the scenes, and
Right.
giving those persons that recognition, that gratitude, if you will, I mean, that can be super powerful, right? Because, well, how did
Sure.
you even know? Well, you took the intention to know, and you brought it out to let we just want to thank so and so for getting that done. Otherwise, this could have been a disaster or wouldn't have been as successful as it was. That can be really super powerful. You know,
Absolutely.
it's kind of old fashioned, I guess. I don't know. But even just a little note, just
Yes,
kind
I
of leaving a
love.
little sticky note or a little envelope, just saying, I want to thank you for your perseverance during this difficult time that we just had in our organization, business, or ministry. You know, a little note like that
Yes.
is such a surprise to get by the person getting it. Is like it could be a real
Yes.
motivator.
It can, especially for those unsung heroes, right? There are so
Mhm.
many people working behind the scenes in so many different ways. And so it just reminds me when you were talking about little sticky notes. Back in the day when we used to print checks, you remember those days? Everything is so electronic
Sort
now.
of, yeah, yeah.
When I would do payroll at one of my previous jobs, I always put a little sticker. So I wrote the person's name, and then there was like a sticker. It might have been a happy Thanksgiving or Merry Christmas or, well done.
Yeah.
Just always put a sticker on that. Or even when some members of this church that I was working for were getting a check for reimbursement for something, always
Mhm.
put a sticker. And I will not forget, some lady came up to me and she was like, "Are you mad at me?" And I was like, "No, why?" "Well, I didn't get a sticker on my envelope." And so
Oh
she
my, yeah.
so she took it to
Okay.
mean that she fell out of grace, right? That she had done something wrong. She didn't get the sticker she felt like she deserved, right?
Okay.
But
Right.
imagine, as you're saying that that little sticker, like as a grown adult, right? Even as grown-ups,
Hmm.
like she looked forward to having that sticker. I think it must have fell off. I don't really remember. Like I didn't deprive
Yeah.
her of that sticker on purpose. But it's so important to recognize that even something as simple as that, maybe the smiley
Hmm.
face on a sticky
Hmm.
note, because
Sure.
those things are relevant, and it's
Yep.
just it's just so important. And so we never want
Yeah.
to miss an opportunity to express that deep gratitude from within us.
Yeah.
Because it really just, we don't want to create of apathy, and, we just don't want all that.
Yeah.
We don't need that kind
Well,
of environment.
in contrast, if you think about it, even if we really went to the extreme where there's a complete lack of gratitude, that could
Oh,
really lead to disengagement. That can lead to,
yes.
because I think it's human nature to appreciate being appreciated.
Yeah. I could see that.
Irregardless of our leadership style, irregardless of our personality, well, I'm all about just getting it done. I don't need the appreciation. I think everybody likes an appreciation. So leaders
Right.
who focus strictly on the performance metrics
Hmm.
or focus on mistakes, and then that's what the attention gets is the mistake,
Exactly.
will end up creating an environment of apathy or maybe even fear, where the coworker and or employee or team member walks around in fear. So that's the power of just that thankfulness, just kind
Exactly.
of I think it's like if we can follow God's lead every once in a while, maybe His example,
Yes,
we could
absolutely.
we could do better in our leadership. Because if you look through Scripture, I think we can see God affirming, right,
Yes.
in how He values His people, or
Yes.
how, like, even Jesus gave God thanks in front of Lazarus' tomb, right? So the situation was
Yes.
pretty grave, pardon my pun, but he gave thanks. Or
Yes.
how he, despite what looked to be a situation of lack, he fed
Right.
5,000, but he was first thankful for what was there, what is around,
Yes.
And a couple other examples that come to mind. Joshua, right, called to be the leader. He was selected to be the leader of all the leaders of the
Right.
entire nation. And apparently, if we look into the scriptures, he felt a little insecure about all that.
Yeah,
So
as
God
did
comes along and
Moses.
says, right? And so God comes along and says, be strong and courageous.
Yes.
That is to me kind of the kind of gratitude sometimes that we can express for
Yeah.
those that are working with us and around us. Just let them know
Right.
you got this.
Right.
And they might
That's
not
so
think at the
true.
moment they do, but that is kind of a gratefulness to say, you know what, I'm going to find a way to make that happen.
Right. And part of that, like when you think about Moses, right? God called Moses to lead the people, right? He put him in
Yeah,
charge of
yeah.
Israel, right? Imagine when we cultivate that spirit that God has put in us,
Hmm.
that spirit of gratitude, and we begin pouring that out into our ministries and into our families and into our friendships. Wow. How much more
Yeah.
will God do through you when you do it every step of the way, breathing in the Holy Spirit,
Hmm.
saying, Yes, Lord, and then loving on the people that He has put into your space. So it's just critical to adapt that mindset of gratitude and pour it into your leadership. It's just important to do it. And I think that
Hmm.
as we're obedient in doing that and being Jesus, right? I like to look at it this way too. Um, when I, when I'm in my, when I'm just receiving from the Lord, and I'm just going to use my husband as an example, how amazing does does God love me through my husband, right? Or he's loving me through my children. Well, you reverse that. When we say yes to God and we are displaying thanksgiving and celebrating the work that somebody has done, that's God loving that person through you. So there's just so
So,
many levels to the depth of
mhm.
what gratitude is actually doing. It is good for us. It is
Yeah.
what the Father wants and it is so what they need because so many
Hmm.
people fall through the cracks. They're not seen, they're not heard, they're undervalued. And so
Hmm.
we need to get rid of the barriers that keep us from taking the time to love and love well, whether it's
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't think you can, whether you think you're too busy. You don't, some people are even like, well, they'll think I'm weak,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I
she's so
I've seen
smushy.
that and heard.
Yeah, so there's lots of different things. So I know I just
Yeah.
was like, "Whoa, ping pong ball," but there's so much meat in this guy. There's just so much meat. So, what are some
There's
creative
so many. Yeah,
Go ahead.
actually, I was just going to think of some other ways because sometimes I think
Yeah,
we don't think there are ways other than just
right.
thank you that can express. But maybe when you're just starting a meeting, just think of someone that you're grateful for on that team. Just kind of give them a 30-second
Yeah,
boost. You know,
right.
maybe you pick the one that right now seems to be going through the biggest challenge, and just kind of give them that affirmation.
Yes,
And that
so
will,
important.
boost their, or take a moment at some point in time, 5 minutes, and just meet with them personally,
Right,
and just kind of
right,
give them that personalized expression of gratitude. Listen, I know I don't say it that often. Throw yourself under the bus. And just
right.
say, I don't appreciate, I know I don't express my appreciation enough, but I want you to know that thing that you did or that thing that you
I saw
said
it.
that you took care of. And then, we say this, right? We say, celebrate the small wins. But I
Mhm,
don't know that we actually do those. And I was thinking about
right,
this in terms of celebrating small wins. If we learn to do that, we end up celebrating more often and we become more
right,
accustomed to it. Think
right,
about that. If we just celebrate every small win, it I know someone can think, well, that's just getting monotonous. But someone who is the person, the recipient of that celebration will not think it's
right.
monotonous.
No, not
And
at all.
we
You're
end up
building trust.
encouraging. Exactly, and you're and encouraging and you're motivating. That way, when there is a big win, because the big wins are kind of few and
Yeah,
far between,
exactly.
now we can make a big deal of it. Now we can go ahead
Exactly.
because it's kind of like if we're not used to celebrating, we don't know how to celebrate.
Right.
So the
Right.
big win comes and we're like, oh, I don't really know how to celebrate even the big win. So let me go off
Right.
to the next, and the next
That's so
assignment.
good.
But let's get used to celebrating small wins so
Yes.
we'll kind of have the practice of, oh, this is a big
Right.
win. Let's really get into this one.
Exactly. That's so good. That's so good. And there's such a huge ripple effect around the process and of gratitude, right? You're going to build that trust, especially when we're regularly doing that. Those small wins you were just
Hmm.
talking about. And then they're just going to they're going to grow in that space and they're going to be excited to show up. They're going to show up on time. They're going to keep going the extra
Hmm.
mile. So it's really going to enhance the relationship that you have with that person. It's the long-term impacts are amazing because you don't have the turnover and they're just so eager to be present in the workspace and doing the thing. And it just inspires that loyalty. And then, from that biblical perspective, Jesus replicated that in that example, right, of the 5,000. So there are so many powerful reasons why we need to make
Hmm.
gratitude, not just Thanksgiving, but deep gratitude a cornerstone of our ministry. Any final
Hmm.
thoughts, Dr. Guy? We're coming up on our
Okay.
20, a
Well,
little over 20 minutes, and we don't want to lose our people getting bored with us.
let's tie in our different leadership styles or different styles of influence and motivation. Because we
Yes.
know, as we've discussed in the past, there are task oriented individuals, right? And what we could do then is let's apply our gratitude
Yes.
correctly. In other words, if that person is a task oriented person, well, then highlight a specific result or achievement because that'll make them feel appreciated. But if they're more of the relationship oriented
Mm.
individual, then let's appreciate them for their collaboration or their enthusiasm or their faithfulness. And then apply that gratitude to the type of person they are, and it'll go miles. It'll go miles.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. This has been a great episode. We want you to drop in the comments or in the chat, email us. Let us know what amazing thing are you doing to cultivate gratitude
Hmm.
in your business or at home, wherever you are a leader. We want to hear how you are using these principles in your day to day. And next time we get together, we're going to dive into how servant leadership is another Thanksgiving principle, and it's going to help you elevate, influence, and impact your leadership. And so stay tuned, guys. We look forward to catching up with you guys again very soon.
Thanks all.